young. There's clearly a baseline that has shifted, and it's happening at such an alarming rate that we need to do something to change it. I think on a large scale, if there was an organization that dealt with international legislation to fight overfishing, to fight pollution by corporations on a worldwide basis, then I think that we would be able to do much more. We would be able to say much more. Fighting carbon emissions from corporations that have a huge impact on the water. Also, education is a big thing. I think if we could educate people around the world as to what's going on and actually offer true solutions, as opposed to just statistics and facts, it would lead to finding a solution, and it would also it would empower people as the individual, as the we, what we can do by cutting down our carbon emissions, by asking questions. If you don't know or don't have any idea of what you can do to help, ask your parents, ask your professors, go online, Google any of these issues and find out what you can do. Turn the lights off when you leave, things like that, because every little thing is going to help. Every one of us make up this big we, make up the globe. So ask questions, research it, practice it. It actually kind of becomes exciting to do. You're making progress. So try that. And you can always go online, you can always go on oceana.com and find out a million different ways and a million different reasons why things are happening and how we can help stop them. Three things I think are pretty super important that people aren't aware of. The ocean absorbs twice the carbon the air does. This causes a whole plethora of problems. Our coral reefs are bleaching. The symbiotic relationship between the bacteria and the animals that live in the coral are being expelled, which bleaches the coral, which makes the fish move, which basically would be essentially the end of certain areas of the ocean. It's a death, if you will, which is really scary. There's also another issue that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, which is pretty interesting. When ocean liners, big tankers crossing the oceans for transportation, which we all need, I get that. When they fill the hulls up with water in one port, they cross the ocean, and they dump it at another port. That's highly problematic because you're taking bacteria and algae and predatory fish from another part of the world, taking them to another port in another part of the world, and releasing these animals into the water, which the native fish and bacteria are not used to these animals, and it causes mass devastation. And there was legislation passed on that in the United States, and I think globally something should be done about that because it's causing a lot of issues. The third thing that I think is pretty interesting, genetically sort of altered bred fish such as salmon that make back out into the wild are breeding with the wild fish, and it's truly endangering the wild populations, which essentially will cause a shift in the natural stock of these fish. The fish, in turn, that are from the fish farms, they're not eating their natural prey. They're not being able to eat what they normally eat in the wild, and so the fish meat actually comes out white. And so when you go to the store to buy this really beautiful, yummy-looking piece of salmon, I'd say about 8 times out of 10, if not more, that meat is dyed for our visual aesthetic appeal, so that we feel as though we're eating salmon. And I don't know how you feel about that, but I think it's a little weird. So those are 3 things I think that are not necessarily super obscure, but definitely are a little under the radar that people may not